Hi there, I'm Ron Robinson, and welcome to Ron Robinson's store. We're going to have the most wonderful evening tonight. We're having the reception for Mr. ALEC BYRNE, who happens to be sitting right here next to me, and I'm very happy about that. And ALEC is the photographer of what we're calling the London Rock exhibition. And ALEC will tell you all about it, taken in the 60s and 70s, rock photography that I think is amazing, and so do our customers. ALEC, let you introduce yourself and what you're doing, and then we'll go forward.
Thank you, Ron.
Yep.
It is great to be here. I really want to thank Ron, and I especially want to thank someone called Linda Sweeter.
That's right.
Who is kind of responsible for getting this whole show together. This woman discovered a box of my slides and prints of from the Stones from way back in the 60s. And she was generous enough to make contact and return this box. So we really are indebted to her. So now I'd like to tell you a little bit about London Rock.
Please.
The book you can see here behind us contains about 200 images, which have been stored for almost half a century. I left London in '75. All these images went into storage, never to be seen. I concentrated on shooting Hollywood stars and moved away from the music biz. And then with the help of someone called Drew Evans, he really brought this together. We had a one-man show at Smashbox Studios not far from here, where over 1,000 people showed up one rainy December night. And that turned everything around. So at that point, we really had to get these pictures out and share them with people, and the response has been amazing. So, and here we are tonight, and we're going to be here, I hope, for a few more weeks.
Well, I think a month or two more. I'd like to add one thing to what you said. I want to just give a little bit more detail. You know, about Linda Switzer first.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because I met Linda as about 10 years ago. She was the buyer at the time for the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. I make fragrance, and I make a home fragrance, and I make personal fine fragrance called Apothea. And she was my buyer and bought the product for the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. And sometime later, she moved to Hong Kong. To Macau, actually, where they opened the Wynn Hotel in Macau. And I happen to sell Apothea there too. We stayed close all this time, and when she comes into town, we were out to lunch, and she said, by the way, I want to tell you this story. And she told me the story of how she was just enamored with the Stones. She's a big Stones fan.
That's right.
And then found your box when she read about your book in London. It was being launched in London, I bet. Correct. First, right?
Right. Yeah.
And she then told me the story and said, this is what I did. I contacted him. His name was on the box. I didn't know about him before, and returned the box to you.
Yes.
She then called me. She says, by the way, I'm coming into town for the Stones concert, which was supposed to be this weekend, but as you know, Mick went in for surgery and canceled the tour for now. So she's coming in. She's going to meet you at some point. I don't think she's met you, right?
We've never even talked on the phone.
We do. We change the art here about every 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that. And I've got to tell you, we've done art rock before, but there's something extremely wonderful about what you've done here. And not only that, you were, how old? You were 17, 18, 19 years old when you took most of these, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It is, to look back on it. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the one picture that really is the stunner, I think there's quite a few that are stunning, but the one that has the story behind it is the one with where you said Mick and Hendrix met for the first time.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
That was quite something. It was the day after my 18th birthday, and I was at a BBC taping of Top of the Pops for Hendrix. And as I'm shooting Hendrix, I see off in the shadows, I see a person, and I'm thinking, that looks a bit like. And sure enough, it was Jagger, and he was there checking out Hendrix. And he finished, came off the stage, and went straight up to Mick. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. And I rushed straight over and said, guys, just need a quick picture. And if you look at the picture, you'll see they're standing almost rubbing shoulder to shoulder. These rock icons don't normally do that. So I'm going, would you mind? And Jimmy, would you? Yeah. So this
Pushing him a little closer.
This kid is directing these two people, and I have one frame. That's all of that encounter. And now it turns out that was the first time that they've been photographed together.
It's the pictures on the wall there. We've got it in one other place in a different size too. But it's really interesting because when you look at Mick's face, he wasn't entirely ready for that.
No.
Kind of, he kind of looks that.
No.
Like I'm here, but
Who is this kid?
who's this guy? And I heard about him. So there's these wonderful stories behind these pictures that I'm just endeared with.
There were some amazing, to look back on those days and to think of how young and how open everything was. You didn't sign contracts, to shoot a band, first 3 numbers, you don't have the copyright, all that sort of stuff. It was just so amazing how the access. And working for NME, which was a music paper, that opened a lot of doors. So anyone who performed on the BBC in any venue, anywhere, I had complete carte blanche to go in and shoot. And that really was, helpful. That just about anyone you can think of performed at the BBC.
Last night, I'm going to tell you the story. I haven't mentioned this to you. Last night we had an event at our Melrose location, a launch for a cosmetic line, and a fella who had been here actually for a book signing. His name is Ronnie Schneider, and Ronnie Schneider, at the same time that you were shooting, was the road manager for the Rolling Stones.
Oh, I've heard of this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He launched a
And
book.
he launched a book.
Yeah.
Right, and the book is actually now being worked into a screenplay for a piece. But he came in last night, and I was in Melrose, and I was telling about you and our exhibition, and he looked at the picture that I opened the book, and I opened it to the page where there was what was it called? The Rock and Roll Circus.
Oh, yeah.
Right? He
Yeah.
was there.
Really?
He was there. He said, "Oh, I know. Yeah, that's that. And he named all those people one by one.
Yeah.
Sorry. So he named those people one by one, and I hope he's going to be here tonight. He said he was
great.
going to try to
Great.
come by
Good to see you.
so that he could meet
Yeah.
you. He said he looks entirely different than he did 50 years ago.
That was a shambles. That whole rock and roll circus was a complete shambles. How they managed to get anything from that taping, I have no idea. And they buried it. They basically, nobody saw the rock and roll circus for a number of, I forget how long it took to be released. They ended up taping it at something like 4 a.m. in the morning, with this audience that was just falling down, So I'd love to talk to him.
Well, he told me some of the story behind that.
Yeah.
That they found the video. It wasn't a video then because it was done on tape at that time. There wasn't no video.
That's right.
And they found it in a barn or something on one of the property owned by one of the Who.
Oh.
And the reason that it didn't get shown so quickly was because Mick and the group weren't completely pleased with it.
Yes.
Because
yes,
the Who
we heard that.
was really
Blew them
hot.
off the stage. Yeah. Yeah.
Turn and face the strange changes. Don't wanna be a richer man.
So one of my favorites was David Bowie, and I photographed Bowie over a dozen times. And the memorable one is the very first photo shoot. And that was, we set up to meet in a park, and it was just so simple. He's waiting at the gate for me. This is close to his home in London. And we meet, we go in. There's no bodyguards, there's no makeup people, there's no stylist. Anything is just David and myself. So we spend the afternoon shooting in this park. And the thing that really struck me was the last project he did before he died was he put out a 5-disc set of a compilation of all his music, and with that DVDs and CDs there was a book, and the opening picture of the book is the picture I took of him in the park that day. And he held on to that. He didn't contact us. He actually had, and if you see the book, you'll see it's kind of dog-eared, where the picture has been stuck in and out of envelopes for quite a while. So that's kind of one thing that I was very sad when when Bowie passed. It was like, wow, how come Keith Richards is still alive and Bowie is died?
We're all wondering how to do what he did and still walk.
So that's one. I'm trying to think of what else. Rolling Stone, Rock and Roll Circus. We've done. Where are the? There's just so many bands. The Doors, when they got to London, they were something that I'll never forget. That show. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of bands, but to see Morrison, the way he would wander around on stage and stop and just look at the floor and lie on the floor, and how he could get the band to hit the note back on time again. I'm looking for signals. How did they do this? I really don't know how they did it. So pretty amazing. I did not have any idea of the value of the historic importance of any of this material. All I was looking at, to me, always, the best picture is the one I'm going to take tomorrow. So it was always, so if somebody, and the reason why Linda ended up with these color pictures is because I was so stupid that I would send original slides to magazines around the world and say, when you're finished with them, send them back. And a lot of people never did. So, and it didn't worry me that much because I'm shooting the Stones next week and the week after and so on. So it's like my focus was always people want to see how they look now, what's the latest. So worrying about old pictures never even occurred to me until the book came about, and that's when it was like, oh my God, I should have saved. One of the things in the book, and the reason why I think Linda's returning those images was so important to me, was in 1972, I had a devastating fire at my studio in London. Thousands of pictures were destroyed. When I quit London and moved to Hollywood, I put everything in, shipped everything, and on the crossing there was storm damage with water. Hundreds of images were destroyed. And then I had an office not far from here on Hollywood Boulevard, and in '94, the Northridge earthquake hit. My building was red tagged with the archive in it. So no images were lost, but some were damaged. So even with all those losses, we still have this amazing collection in the book. So I'm happy about that one.
met through this relationship of Linda Switzer. Totally independent. I didn't know each other. Linda told me about it, showed me the connection that she had when she gave back the photographs sent back or called. I don't even know how the transaction happened, but she knows on Facebook. So she, as I said, she and I were having lunch, and she told me the story, and I said, these are great, and how do I get a hold of this guy? And so she put us together.
That's right.
And then I met some weeks later with Drew.
Yes.
And we talked for a while, and he came out to see if we're legitimate enough for meeting with you, and we were. And here we are.
This is a fantastic space.
Thank you.
You have it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So I'm really looking forward to getting the people in and seeing their reaction to these, because it always interests me when you come across a group of people studying this picture of Mick Jagger or whoever, Cat Stevens or something, and as much as I'd like to butt in, I step back and just appreciate the moment.
So it's interesting because I've been in the retail business for 40 years, and I started in apparel, fashion apparel, which I still am in, and I have my store on Melrose Avenue. And I opened this store 5 years ago. And when I saw it, there was something that spoke to me that was about how are we going to be future? What are we going to do to advance retailing in the future and be not just a place where you put out some jeans and somebody comes in, but how do you excite the consumer in a different way today? We're always challenged with that. And when I saw it, it just spoke to me about, hey, these walls, they can be a gallery. And we can do that, but not in the traditional sense where you only have a gallery. Where I have my customer coming in maybe for a coffee table book, or maybe for a jewelry, or maybe for something else, and they come across the photographs or the artwork that we have on the wall. And it's been now for 5 years incredible. By the way, I told you when you arrived that we sold 3 pictures yesterday before the reception. And so it works.
Great space, a really great space. So I'm really looking forward to it. And we got a bunch of people coming tonight. We're going to be here for weeks, so please come down and visit. It's Ron Robinson's store in Santa Monica.
RonRobinson.com.
Yeah. And we also have other pictures, and I think you can follow us on ALECBYRNEarchive.com. And on there, I think, is Instagram and Facebook and so on. Great. Thank you for coming.
Quite aware of what they're going through. Changes, turn and face the strain. Changes, don't tell them to grow up out of it.